the H.A.T.A.E Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the H.A.T.A.E Podcast with me, Benjamin Maidel. And today we've got our guest coming all the way from Sweden. We've got Anne-Marie Christell. How are you, Anne-Marie?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
No trouble at all. No trouble at all. Now, we like to get into things nice and quickly. We don't like all the talk at the start. How did you get into hairdressing, Anne-Marie?
I think it all started very, very early because I've always hated my own hair. My mother has like beautiful, amazing curls. I have to fake it. And my brother actually got that type of hair. And it's funny because he shaves it off and my hair is super thin. And I was always self-conscious about my hair. So I like already at like 11 years old, I started to try to do things with my hair. And at age of 15, some of my friends actually asked me if I could put hair extensions into their hair and do braids and stuff like that. And I started just playing around with my friend's hair, and that moved me from the very beginning. I wanted to be an artist, like paint and stuff like that. But when I actually understood that I can use a person's head as my canvas, it just blew my mind because I realized that I can be creative. I can make money easily doing hair, and I get to be, create stuff and really make people feel really beautiful from the inside and out. And that just blew my mind. And I just started studying, taking courses and traveling all over the world to have the knowledge that I have today. So
when you started hairdressing, did you start when you decided, yeah, this is a career path for me? Did you go into a salon, or did you literally just sort of pick up courses here, there, and everywhere, just learning?
So what I did from the age of 15, I actually so this is back in like 95 and it was in the very beginning of the internet. I don't know what age ranges people are in here, but in the beginning of the internet there was nothing out there, and there was different kind of forums that almost looked like a Facebook group that nowadays, and there was one about hair extensions, and I found that and started chatting with some really knowledgeable people that was super friendly and wanted to share information. And I was in contact with this woman, Sonia, that started Hair Police in Minneapolis in America. And she was so kind to answer all my weird questions. And after a year, she's like, I'm going to be in London and I want to teach you everything I know because you really want to have this knowledge. So I bought a plane ticket to London, went there, got educated by her, and was also assisting her for a few weeks in London. And then I ended up taking courses in New York, Toronto, and in Sweden. And then I took a proper hairdressing education in Sweden as well, at the same, like parallel with everything. So I've been doing my own thing, taking the proper education, and also assisting people to have the knowledge that I have today.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's a nice way to go and do it, really. I mean, yeah, a lot of people sort of will go one way or the other. They either, right, we're going the direct college route, or we're going we're going to learn it ourselves. It's a brilliant way to learn, is it? Picking bits up off of different people and whatnot else. It's a great way to learn. So after you've done that, then, so how did you get on from there? Were you working in a salon? Were you, or?
So I started working in a salon here in Stockholm in Sweden. And then I also went to New York and to London and Los Angeles and actually worked for my teacher, Sonia. because she had places all over the world, and she was very much for like building a community and wanting to bring like-minded people together that was open and pushing in the limits of what you can actually do with hair. And this was really in the early start of hair extensions. There, like, the knowledge about it was barely nothing. And it makes me sad today because then the quality of the hair was amazing, but it's not really nowadays because of the demand and so on. So, and after a few years, because I didn't like the vibe in the salons that I was working in at that very moment, I actually got my own salon, like a salon suite, and I was working with myself and with assistants as well in my own salon, because I felt that that was working better for me, because I'm very introverted, super energy sensitive, so I cannot deal with working with 10 other people in a space. That becomes too much for me.
No, I understand completely. I understand completely.
Yeah.
So the salon suite's quite a popular thing in Sweden as well, because it's the first time that I've sort of heard that phrase used outside of the USA. Really?
No,
No, is it?
no, it's not really a common thing
Yeah,
at all. So that it's very unusual that one person or like two, it's a small salon, it's more bigger salons.
yeah,
And I think salon suites are more an American thing.
yeah,
But I think for me, it's been amazing. And I think it's a super great idea to bring, even when they have like a huge space they build into small salon suites, to bring people together, but they can have their own space and do their own thing, but there's
yeah.
still a connection with everyone else.
No, certainly. It's a brilliant idea that I wasn't aware of before sort of I moved
Yeah,
here. And
yeah,
it does, like exactly what you just said there. It enables you to be an individual but part of a collective. And
yeah.
it's a brilliant thing to do. And I'm surprised it hasn't taken on elsewhere. Perhaps it will at some point. I mean, when you opened up on your own, was it just you on your own initially, or and then did you bring other people in later on, or how did it work? Did you have some staff from the start, or?
No, I've only like worked with myself, and then having people as assistants, because I've been training people
Okay,
to do the work that I do, because I I realized that my clients, they want to come for me, and the exchange that we have. So, and I've heard this when some clients have gone to someone I trained, they're like, but they're not you. And I'm like, yeah, I can teach them to do the hair, but I can teach them to be me.
yeah,
And I think that's also something that we as hairstylists really have to remember, that the connection, the energy exchange, and the relationship that we have with our clients is unique to us. And that is something that no one else can compete with. And our clients can be perfect for us for a moment, for a long time. And that is, I think that's the beauty with working with people.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, it is. It's that whole thing, isn't it? Is you do have those connections with people. This is something that
yeah,
I certainly sort of later on in my career that I've worked out a lot more. You know,
yeah,
as you do, you have these connections with certain people, and there's no necessarily right or wrong answer to why you don't have connections with certain people.
yeah, no,
Certain thing. It's just because you don't have a connection with that person for
yeah,
whatever reason, be it
yeah,
be it yourself, be it them. It's you've got
yeah,
to, and then when you do find each other and it clicks,
yeah,
it tends you get much better hair results. You get
yeah,
everyone has a better time. The hairstylist, the
yeah,
client, the whole
yeah,
experience is just
yeah,
ramped up.
yeah,
It's a thing that I think it's certainly coming into the industry a lot more now. But before it was very much a case of just do your clients and that's it. You know, as you whether you like them or not, you just sort of had to churn through clients.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily a great place to be, especially for the hairdresser, as we're
No,
becoming more.
it becomes too draining if you keep on just being a robot. And
Yeah,
I think more and more and more, and I think that we saw this after the pandemic, that people, when they've been locked in, or whatever you call it,
yeah.
that sounded it it becomes, I saw that people were really craving those connections again. They were craving of actually being in the same room with people and being touched, not in a weird way, but
Yeah.
just as we do as hairstylists, and really seeing people for who they are. And I
Yeah.
think more and more in the digital age, I love that we can record this and we can have this connection online. But I think more and more, the more the internet is growing, people are really craving that personal connection. And I think that that's why the industry is changing as well, because we're becoming so separate
Yeah.
in our regular lives, that those connections that we actually have when we're in the same room becomes more valuable. And I think that that's why clients have changed, and they are really looking for that hairstylist that really fits them.
Oh, I think so. I mean, you can now theoretically live your entire life without leaving your house.
Yeah.
You can do your food shopping online. Everything can be online. You don't need to go
Yeah.
to work because you can work online. You can everything
Yeah.
you can do. And like you're saying there, it's is everyone's, and it doesn't matter whether you're the most extrovert, introvert, whatever you might be. Everyone's social interactions now with
Yeah.
face on face people have diminished.
Yeah.
And I think since lockdown, that is like you were saying. I think post lockdown, the initial stages of it, it's sort of you found that sort of thing. People were craving to be, with other people.
Yeah.
It was there, whether or not they garnered negative or positive energies from that or exchanges from
Mm.
that was a
Yeah.
different matter. But they just wanted to be around people, and
Yeah.
it's a thing that I think is going to be a very interesting thing over the next few years with hairdressing, restaurants, other services that you can't yet get from a computer.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very interesting time over the next few years about how that is perceived and how that is taken in society. Is
Yeah.
that there was actually an article I read, it was a little while ago now, probably over a year ago, and it was saying about how they think that services such as hairdressing, restaurant services and whatnot are actually going to become really quite expensive in the next
Yeah.
few years because people will have to pay for that social interaction.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting time. So how long? So you still got your salon there as well?
Yeah. I still do a few weeks, like for a few days a week
Yep.
hair. But I'm moving more and more away from that because I do coaching for hairstylists and really help them grow their business, and also looking at the aspect of building great connections with clients and attracting the right type of clients into their business.
Yeah. At what point did
Uh,
you decide to move more into the coaching? Was there a point where you were sort of thinking, well, I'm done here? Was that another post lockdown thing that you maybe were working full time before and then started to think, well, actually, no, I want to do a couple more days to myself or a couple more days for something else?
well, it's actually because so I've been working for over 26 years as a hairdresser. It feels weird to say that out loud.
Yeah.
I don't feel that old.
Tell me about it. Yeah.
It feels weird, but the physical side of my body has taken a toll, and I actually have a tumor in my arm.
Okay.
It's not dangerous, but it's painful,
Okay.
and they won't remove it because the risk of it's around where the nerves are in the arm.
Okay.
So to remove it is a risk of me not being able to use my hand.
Yeah.
So they've asked, like, and they do these tests every year to see I'm okay, but working more has more pain in my
Okay.
arm.
Yes. The more you
So
use it,
that
the more of a problem you get.
yeah. So I realized that okay, I guess this is one of those universal guidance that is pushing me to like, okay, now you
Yeah.
have to let go because you are here to serve more people. So this is why I try to have a balance, but there will come to this point where I will just let go of the clients. But I mean, I have clients that have been going to me for over 20 years, and
Yeah.
they're like my friends.
Yeah.
You're together through everything. So I probably do some of their hair anyway.
Yeah, exactly. That's just what happens, though, is it? My mum and dad are hairdressers.
Yeah,
By the time this comes out, my mum will have retired.
yeah,
But it's like you get those people. I mean, certainly with my dad, there's clients that he's done what is now the grandmother. I don't
yeah,
think he's on great grandmothers yet, but he's not.
yeah,
He can't be far off, And
yeah,
it's like he does the mum, he
yeah,
does the daughter, and he does the daughter's daughter.
yeah,
It's just like it's a crazy thing we get. Like you said, that whole
yeah,
life that you
yeah,
get with people, all the ups and downs, and
yeah,
it's like cutting a friendship off sometimes, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
If you allow that to
yeah,
happen, if you are that kind of hairdresser, because I know some hairdressers are they don't let any personal things come through, and I get that's one type of hairdresser, and then there's like I build more personal connections with people, and that's just how I am
yeah. I
as a
think to be honest,
person.
that's more of the way that we see it.
Yeah,
Is sort of as personal as hedge. I mean, it would take a a very unique person, I think, in order to not take any of it. Especially if, like you say, you see someone every 6 weeks for 25 years. It's you know everything about them.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know more than their husband or their wife
yeah,
probably.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, of course.
it's most of the time. Sometimes you don't want to know more than the husband or wife, but you
Yeah,
get it
yeah,
anyway. But it's a very it's a very interpersonal thing, isn't it?
yeah,
With that, and I think that creeps into other sides of the hairdress as well. Like forever seeing posts in the group and other things around that people wanting to know how to put their prices up because we've
yeah,
built that, and it is the sole thing with that is it's because they have built that personal connection with people.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so with sort of your ideas about the connections with people and that, is that something that's always been evident with you in hairdressing, or is that something that you've become more aware of over the years?
Well, in the beginning, I was shocked because I when I went to like any type of like hairdressing courses that I've done and education and so on, it's mainly focused on hair and the whole aspect of how do you create amazing hair and blah blah blah. Blah. But I've never had anyone teach me about actually, so how do we build these personal connections? Um how can I go home after work with not carrying everything that people have been telling me? And I mean, people tell you, as you said, everything, like everything from when someone has died, someone has cheated, and then every beautiful thing, I'm getting married and I'm having a kid, and blah 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 blah. And uh, I've through the years have struggled with depression because of how my situation was when I grew up. And it took me to actually move to rock bottom to shift and learn tools and strategies through personal development. I've learned different coaching elements to actually help myself to be able to not start to weep when I was standing behind the chair, or because if you are an open person, it's also hard when a client tells you something emotional, not to be affected by that as well. So I understood from a very in the beginning of my career, I had no boundaries. I didn't know how to say no because I was never taught as a kid what is okay and what is not okay. It's okay to actually say no when someone is saying something that hurts you, or when someone is overstepping a boundary, or when we all have those clients that think that they rule over us and say like, I want to come in 7 o'clock on a Sunday or whatever that is.
Yeah.
So I've gone through deep mental and emotional training to actually learn where are my own personal boundaries, what is it that I can share, what is not what is off limits, where I won't speak to anyone, and also what are the facts or rules in my salon when I actually take on a client, and so on. Because I don't know if you have your own experience, but I found that a lot of clients, they want to bring their kids, they want to bring their friends, they want to bring everyone. So it becomes like a social thing when they go to the hairdresser. And I was okay with that in the very beginning, but I actually was thinking of quitting doing hair because that was draining to me.
Oh, certainly. It's a very interesting thing you brought up there, because I think it's something that I certainly noticed. You know, with that, and it's a very difficult thing of how to enforce these rules. You know, because you know you want to be available, because otherwise you wouldn't be a hairdresser if you weren't a people person. You didn't want to make people happy. You know, like you're saying, that client that calls at like 8 o'clock on a Sunday night, or messages wanting their appointment, in the middle of the night, or wants to be put in tomorrow morning, and it doesn't necessarily work, or wants to bring, like you say, bring the children into the salon, or perhaps they aren't well behaved, or bring the dog, or whatever it might be. And it's a very interesting thing. It's a very difficult thing, and it's one of the hardest things to do that I found. Certainly, I'll tell you what, it made me a lot happier when I did do it. Is setting those sort of boundaries and saying no. I mean, there was a time, sort of, I was working from home, and sort of the doorbell went. So I was living in an apartment, so the phone went, and it was somebody who I'd never done their hair before, but their friend came. And this was like 8 o'clock on a Sunday evening, wanting their hair done. And it was like, well, no, I don't think this works, no. If the way that I always try and sort of bring it, well, it is a slightly different question, is you don't go to Starbucks when they're closed and get a coffee.
No.
You don't go in there and make your order in the shop when they're closed. So that's how we need to run our businesses, because that's what we are at the end of the day. It's a business. I think, I know what we've said earlier, you've developed a framework that helps hairdressers with this. And I think that the people side of things, and the way that we've sort of allowed ourselves as an industry to be guided in that direction, it leads so many people to leave. It is, because that is the main part of people leaving. There's the money, and there's the people. And then that is why so many people leave in droves, especially when you put the two together. You can go and get yourself, in most cases, with sort of, when you're starting out and younger, you can go and get yourself a service job working in a cafe or a bar or a restaurant, not deal with nearly half of the issues that you have to deal with, all the trauma dumping and other things like that. Get paid the same, if not a little bit more money. So that's why they go, and that's a huge reason as to why people leave.
And I think another aspect of this as well, and I think it's like 15, 17 years ago, I actually, in the beginning, I had one phone that I used for private and for the business, a cell phone. But people people called at 3 o'clock in the morning thinking that I'm going to answer. And for me, seeing that missed call was annoying, or getting waked up in the middle of the night. So if someone still listening to this podcast is only using one phone for your whole life, my recommendation is to go and buy, I think you call it like a burner phone, or in America, or like an extra cell phone.
An extra phone, I think. I think burner phones are for people who are doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing. But get a business phone. Get a business phone.
Yeah.
That's it.
And actually leave it at the salon. And my also recommendation is because nowadays people expect you to respond to messages 24/7. And I mean, as a hairstylist, we also need to have time for ourselves, and we need to have downtime time where we just relax. And if you are consistently bombarded and checking all the notifications and everything, you will never have time to rest and recuperate and just take care of yourself. So my recommendation is to have all your social and everything on that phone. And what I do, I check messages in the morning before I start work. The same with my coaching. I go in and I check everything. I respond to everything. Then I turn off everything and I do my work, and then I respond to things before I go home. And I even, when I go to sleep, my personal phone, I turn it off, so no one can call me or disturb me, because just the idea that someone might try to reach me or text me or blah 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 blah, that can actually pull energy from us. And oh, I just have to check this, or I have to check that, or just the idea that we go and Google everything. I do this as well. But we don't use our brains as we used to. And I think that we're consistently bombarded with information, our brains never have time to rest. And that's why I have these strict tools for myself. And I try to inspire others to do that as well, because it is when we log off and maybe do things in real life out of the digital world, where our brains actually fill up with energy and get to rest. Because that consistently bombarding thing can lead to burnout and stress, and you become what do you call it?
It's you sort of, I fully understand it, because you never switch off. So if you never switch off, you're going to become very tired, very worn out, like you say, burnt out. And it's something that you do. I mean, it's a very interesting thing you say about turning your sort of personal phone, certainly the one leaving your business phone at work. That's something that I always use. I never used to leave it, but I always used to switch it off as soon as I left. That was what I would do. I'd turn that off. That's that, for the day. And people would get, I was quite lucky with my commute, is what I would do is I'd just get on the train on the way to work. I would then deal with all the appointments that come in from the night before, and then I'd deal with them throughout the day as well myself. Then after that, as soon as I'd done the last client, phones off, thank you very much, back on the train, then wouldn't be touched again until the next morning. It's something that we need to do. And like you say, that turning your phone off at night thing is so easy to do, and it does affect so much, doesn't it? It's easy to wait. You wake up for some reason at 3 o'clock in the morning, you roll over, you check the time, you see a message from someone's, let's have, some meme of a cat or whatever it might be. And you think, oh, well, isn't that good? And then by the time you've done that, you're awake,
and then the brains start to think, and then you're in a rant, and then you might end up scrolling, or you just are stuck in this loop of information, and then it might take 3 or 4 hours before you get to sleep again, and then you're cranky the rest of the day.
No, certainly. I mean, at what point did you sort of start to think, I'll do the coaching thing, and then sort of where did that idea come from of becoming a coach, apart from the idea of having to sort of start the step away from the salon? Is it something that you've always done, the education side of things and the coaching?
Well, the education side of and coaching thing, I think um I've been doing for around 6 or 7 years,
Okay.
and it came from some of my clients
Okay.
that were actually bugging me over and over and over again to tell me to teach them how I do hair extensions, because I've created a system of creating hair extensions without glue, without any chemicals at all. It's all natural, like a sewing method that is, and a braiding method that is really comfortable to wear on your head. And they were bugging me for years and years. And I was actually saying no, because I am a super introverted person. Don't I would never like stand up on a private party speaking. I had to learn how to actually speak on camera. 10 years ago, I would have never jumped on and be on a podcast,
Yeah.
because I was uh, just because of early trauma from my childhood. But I actually pushed myself to become okay with speaking in front of people and speaking in front of camera without having to cry for half an hour before I
Yeah.
actually put record on something.
That's a good thing.
Uh, yeah. And now I just do this automatically. I mean, it's interesting because it came to this point where one of my clients that came from Finland to get her hair done, she again was like, "Can you please teach me to do what you do?" And I was like, "No, no, no, it's never going to happen, darling. No, no, no." And on that weekend, it was on a Sunday, I woke up feeling very sick. But I had booked the laundry, so I went down and, put the stuff in the laundry room, and I came up to the apartment, and I fell down to the floor, and I lost all feeling in my body. It was like my body, I could move, but when like a leg falls asleep,
Yeah.
that was the feeling in my full body, and that was going on for 7 days.
Yeah.
I was afraid that I was having some kind of stroke, or I went to the doctors, and they couldn't find anything wrong with me, but I couldn't. It was like my full body was numb, and I was put on bed rest. And during those 7 days, I had a lot of thinking to be doing, because
Yeah.
I realized that, what if this is it? What if I cannot help another person in the chair anymore? And all this knowledge that I've been creating with every single client that I've created, and with the system that I've taken out and created, what if that just goes to waste? And so as soon as I actually in my mind went like, okay, I will teach this person and maybe try to get a group together. The morning after, I was fine again. So I take it as a big sign from whatever you believe in is like they had to make me numb to actually get over myself.
Yeah.
uh,
The
and
universe has spoken.
yeah, and it actually moved me into start to teach, and that changed my life, because I realized how much I have to give. Sometimes you're so blinded by just being yourself that you don't really understand how much the knowledge that you carry can actually help change other people's lives.
Yeah.
Uh, and now it's just amazing to see how I actually help people shift the way they see things, or how they're doing their hair extensions, or how they're running their business, and it truly changed everything for in their lives. And that's really a gift to be able to give to people. So,
No, Oh, certainly. You know, it does. It sometimes takes these things to sort of push you in a direction that you perhaps weren't so sure you were ever going to go in. You know,
Yeah,
most of the time when you go there, it's not quite so bad, and it's quite good. In the end, anyway.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was like, what was I scared of? Like,
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's all big and scary. It is. It's a very difficult thing, especially in this industry. You know, now if
yeah,
you are, I'm quite an introverted person myself, and
yeah,
in this industry, it's like there's a lot of extroverted people,
yeah,
and sort
yeah,
of cutting through that noise if you're introverted and sort of you don't want your energy drained can sometimes
yeah,
be like it's not for
yeah.
me.
I
You
think
know,
it's also this idea that education in the hair industry has to be in a certain way, and it's very like geared to um, big events and flashy things going on and lots of noise. But I think for like introverted people like us, it's maybe easier to be in a small group of people, getting that deep connection and really that can really transform people
yeah.
in a way that is good for them.
Oh,
So I think I
certainly.
created an education where I wish I would have had
Yeah.
that I never got. Um,
But that's the thing.
and actually to be okay with that, it's actually okay to not be that super extroverted person, um, and still have those relationships with your clients and so on.
Yeah,
So
exactly. It's sort of enabling people to work out how to do it, especially as you
yeah,
yourself as have come from that place. That's always where the best education comes from is
yeah,
listening to people and working with people who've been there themselves and
yeah,
who perhaps feel the same way about things. I
yeah,
mean, we were speaking before we came on there. You've developed a framework
yeah.
in regards
So
to helping hairdressers, so, sort of dealing with clients and whatnot. So I don't know if you want to go into
yeah,
that a little bit more.
yeah, absolutely. So um, I have had situations throughout my career where I've been so drained by some clients where I just didn't know how to move away from that. So through my years of healing myself and different personal development things and breath work and meditation practices, I actually developed a framework to deal with difficult client situations because those are the situations that can actually make hairstylists quit. So that's why I want to give this framework out to as many hairdressers as possible because I believe that you can shift the situation in an easy way. And the first step is my recommendation when you start to follow this framework is to have a pen and paper. Because when you start to write out what is actually going on, you can watch it from an objective perspective. You can actually move out of your body and see, oh, is this the situation? So the first step is actually to write out without censoring yourself what is the situation that has happened. So put as much information into the paper as possible. Don't worry about that it has to be perfect sentences because it's only for you to actually understand from an objective perspective what is the situation and what has happened. Because we tend to like go into rants of like, oh, this happened to me, blah, 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 blah. But it's not until we actually step out of it that we can actually see what is going on. And the second step in the framework is for you to personally understand where is your own responsibility. Because in any difficult situation that we have with clients, we tend to blame them. Oh, they did this or they said that or blah blah. They don't understand. Blah blah blah. But we have to also any relationship. It doesn't have to, like, when you're with clients, with friends, with family members, there's two persons in a situation when there is a conflict. And we also have to see, okay, maybe I did miss something in the communication, or maybe I was stressed and didn't listen to the client, or maybe I miscalculated the time, or I did the wrong color, or whatever it is. What is your part of the situation? Because the more we can understand where is our own responsibility, then we can learn from that. And that is the third part of the framework, to actually understand what is the lesson from the situation that you are in with your client. Why did this happen, and what can you take away from that? Is there something that you have to change in the way that you are doing your work behind the chair? Maybe you need to do some more consultations when you're doing a big color correction job, or maybe you have to take the time to actually sit down with the client if you feel that something is off before you start to do hair. And that is something that I always do, and especially when I do like new hair extension clients, if I feel that something is off with them when they come into the salon, I actually have them sit. I don't have them sit in the chair. I have them sit in the sofa with me, because that actually takes away a little bit of it becomes
the barrier,
more personal. Yeah. And it actually makes them open up.
Yeah.
And I had a situation with a client that I felt something was so off. So I had her sit down and talk to me and say, like, I feel that there's something going on here. And she actually told me that she had argued with her husband before she came to the salon. And he said that if you go and get your hair done the way that you're doing, I'm actually going to get divorced. And that was the energy that she came with to me.
Yeah.
We had like 1 hour conversation, because I felt that I'm not going to do her hair with the wrong intention. Like, she ended up doing something a little bit different, and she has come to me for 10 years, and she didn't get divorced.
No, she's still going.
She's still figuring out with her husband, and they have a beautiful relationship now, and it was like a personal thing for them. So anytime I feel that there's something off with the client when they come to me, I actually sit down and talk to them, because that can really save us anytime we have a person that really don't understand the services that we're offering. And also take those lessons and see how can I change things in the way that I'm doing things, so it becomes easier, so that we always want to have those clients that we can continue to have long term. So how can we streamline everything that we're doing in our business, so that we can also weed out all of those clients that it's just going to be a hassle?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very important thing, especially for newer stylists coming through. You know, as I always say, the longer you do it, the easier it gets, because people go to people they like in the end of the day. So you know, by the time you've been doing it a few years, you end up with sort of group clients you actually quite like. But yeah, when you have to start somewhere new, perhaps, or you're doing something, it's very important to make sure that those clients fit you. You know, and it's being sort of strong enough and having that framework and having that that mechanism to use when you say, actually, no, you know, I don't, you know, nothing personal, but I don't think this is going to work between us. You know, it's never ends up in a good result for the hair. It never ends up in a good result for yourself. It's it's best avoided to start with.
And the fourth step of this framework is to actually if you have a situation where a client reach out to you and they're super unhappy with their hair, or they're like, there's this negative thing going on, is how can you, as fast as possible, actually make a clean break for the situation. And sometimes we need to break up with the client. Sometimes we need to maybe pay a refund. Sometimes we have to redo the hair. And I know you probably have people from all over the world listening to this podcast. And my recommendation, if you don't know the rules in your state or in your country around doing a refund, or how many times you should change, like do a color correction, or to like, what are the rules in your country, you need to be 100% clear about them already now. Because I see also in different Facebook groups that people are discussing this, but they don't know what is the law where you live. And I think that's important to understand.
Yeah.
And there as well, when you know this, make your own little framework. If someone is unhappy, step 1, I do this. Step 2, I do that. This is how I respond to things. This is how I deal with the situation, so that you have your own little framework, because then you don't have to go in as emotionally into the situation. We want to remove the emotion and not become drained or sad when someone is unhappy with, because we cannot make everyone happy. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
And the faster, if there's a new hairstylist listening to this, the faster you can get around that everyone won't like you and everyone won't be happy with the work that you do, and be okay with that, the easier will become for you to work behind the chair. Because we cannot have amazing transformations for every single client that we have.
Yeah. I think that's especially important to remember, given the world of social media and whatnot. You know, these days is like everything is a grand. You know, it's everything's 10 out of 10, blazing, wonderful, superb. You know, in the real world, it's not. You know, and it is. You know, there are some people who are just happy being unhappy. You know, it's what, for whatever reason, they haven't dealt with whatever issues they've got, and they feel the need to pass them on to everyone else. And you know, especially as younger people, you know, it's very difficult to deal with if you're a 20-year-old, you know, just qualified hairdresser. You know, when you've been at it a few years, you get a lot more used to it, I think. You know, you can do. It's not for everyone, but you can do. Yeah. It's important to know that you're not going to please everyone.
No, and I was in the beginning as well. It just, you know, I just wanted to put the blanket over my head when someone was not happy with what I was doing. And it took a while before I actually realized that. And now I can spot when someone is not the right, when someone is trying to rule me on how I should do things, then I'm like, no, this is not going to work, because I'm the professional here and I know what I can do for you.
Yeah. I know what I can do for you, and this is how I do it. This is how it operates here. You do not like it, somewhere else.
Yeah. Thank you. Goodbye.
Exactly. Well, there was a story. It was Vidal Sassoon when he opened his first salon. He just opened, you know, and it wasn't that busy. He said, and it was whatnot. And the lady came in, and she came in. Well, I'm going to have it razor cut, and then we're going to set it like this. Oh, we don't do that here. What do you mean you don't do that here? You know, and it was this thing. It was that whole thing. No. You come here, and we do what we do. And I think that's something as an industry we need to adopt a little bit more of. You know, especially once again, we go back to the social media, the YouTube, the Google, everything. You can watch a video and sort of say, yes, that's how it needs to be done. And that's how that person does it. That's fantastic. You know, but they might have very different hair to that person, you know, and whatnot. So that's what we need to do. Yeah, I like that. That's a brilliant thing to do there.
Yeah. And then going back to the framework, the 5th step is actually to understand. So I'm very sensitive to energy. And that's why I actually have added a step where to understand what kind of energy is connected to the situation. Because every single person that we meet, we have this energy connection, and some people like me can actually get really drained by other people's energy and so on. And sometimes, if you are not used to this, if you've had a client that is sitting in your chair and when they leave you feel like your life force is sucked out of you, then you've had an experience with someone that has actually drained you from your energy. So looking at, okay, from this whole situation, how do you feel? And some people feel energy in their body. So if you feel like, yeah, I got pain in my back or in my belly or something, assess where is that energy in your body. And the sixth step is actually shifting this energy from your body and moving it out. What I love doing is I have a playlist on Spotify that has a really like high tempo music. And it's for me a 30-minute walk to the closest bus station. So I actually power walk with this high pumping music, and I'm actually moving all this energy out of my body. So if anyone sees me super angry walking, you know that I'm shifting my energy. I actually think about the situation that I've had with a client and then the energy that is behind it, and I'm actually moving that energy out of my body. And when I come home, I'm clear. I can have a normal conversation with my husband. I don't have to think about what has been going on through the day. I have just shifted the energy, and I don't have to become angry because the client has been angry with me and bringing that home. So we always want to move energy out of our bodies, because otherwise we carry so much without not even knowing it.
Yeah.
And what you also can do as the seventh step is actually, as I was talking about, every single person that we meet through a day, we get this energy connection, and it's something called an energy cord. And it is interesting because even just seeing a photo of someone can connect an energy cord. So if we think about how many energy cords we are carrying every single day, just watching images on social media, having conversations with our clients, if you're working in a big salon, if you say hi to people with like the other hairstylist clients, think about how many cords you are carrying. So I have created a super simple cord cutting meditation. It's only 4 minutes long, where I guide you to actually cut all of these energy cords, and that actually reboots your energy. So it's super important if you have a huge fight with someone to actually cut those cords, because otherwise this can continue to be a negative connection between you. And it doesn't mean, if you're cutting someone's cord, it doesn't mean that you're throwing them out of your life. You're just rebooting the energy between you two. So even if you think that I'm super woo-woo talking about this, test it, because it really helps you to shift your energy. And I remember the first time I actually tried a cord cutting meditation, maybe like 12 years ago. I had a situation with my mother, and I thought that situation would never change. And I did this meditation, and maybe 3 hours later, she called with a brand new energy. And it just was mind blowing to me that just because I did that, she shifted as well.
Yeah.
So it's really, really helpful to do that. And it helps you to really also cut the energy when you leave the salon and going home, because we don't want to take all that emotional baggage with us home and dump it on our partner or our family, and then it becomes their problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then that leads to more problems, you know, a
Yeah,
small problem becomes a big problem, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
very interesting thing to do. And I think it's certainly going to be helpful for a lot of hairdressers now. Because
yeah,
you saying about the thing walking home there, it's that decompression time that I think everyone
yeah,
needs, you
yeah,
know, after being in the salon all day, speaking to people. It can be, you know, you can have all sorts of, especially when you've been doing clients for a little while.
yeah,
It can be quite draining sometimes, you
yeah,
know. It's everything's going wrong in other people's lives, and then it starts to take a toll on you. I've certainly had that, you
yeah,
know, as sort of as a hairdresser. It can lead to all sorts of problems further down the line. So where
yeah.
can people find out a little bit more about what you do there, Anne-Marie?
So my brand is called Serene Flow. So I do a little bit on Instagram, and that's Serene Flow underscore. And then I have my website at sereneflow.com. So if you want to download a PDF file and the cord cutting meditation, you can also do that at sereneflow.com / toxic. And
Okay,
I think you
fantastic.
will put that in the show notes for them.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll put them in the show
Yeah,
notes and in the links on the social media posts that we'll
yeah,
do as well, to promote
yeah,
this. So everything that you know you want to find out more about Anne-Marie, we'll pop it all up there on the notes and in the
yeah,
posts. Well, thank you
yeah.
very
And I
much for
will,
coming. Carry on, carry on.
yeah, yeah. And if someone does this framework, I would love to hear from you what you think about it and if it's working for you and all of your big aha moments, because I really love hearing those things. So
So don't be shy and get in touch.
yeah, yeah.
No trouble at all. Thank you very much, Anne-Marie, for coming on. It's been a pleasure having
Well,
you.
thank you. Yeah,
Enjoy the
lovely
rest of
to
your
be
day.
here. Yeah, the
Have
same.
a good one. See you next
Yeah,
time. Bye bye.
thank you. Bye.